All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing the epic science fiction novel Aurora by Kim Stanley Robinson. I don't know when this came out, maybe within the last 10 years, I believe. Let's see if I'm correct on that. It came out in 2024. And that would, because I'm filming this in 2025, that would make sense that it came out within the last 10 years, I guess. No, when did this come out? I might be wrong. Came out in 2015. Ha! Okay, yeah. I don't know how to do math or even read, so we'll edit parts of that out. Came out in 2015, exactly 10 years ago. Let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. This has it's a very minimalist cover. It's just got outer space with this spaceship, very 2001 Space Odyssey-like type. Kind of, if you've seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about. So Kim Stanley Robinson, I did just about a couple weeks ago, I reviewed his book Red Mars, and I was kind of in the mood to read another one of his, so I got this one. It's about a starship, one of these generation ships that is launched from Earth out into the unknown to a star system far, far away, light years away. And it is going to see if, they can colonize some planets out there. And it's just a big journey, one of these big generation ship, starship journey type of books, which typically kind of go a certain way. But Kim Stanley Robinson is clearly trying to subvert our expectations with this book. Because I'll be frank with you, it's not a typical cliched happy ending-esque novel that you would think it would be, where people reach the planet and yay, everything's great. It goes in a lot of different directions that I wasn't expecting. And the characters in this book, even though you send a bunch of people off into space to explore and to find a new world, and who knows how long it will take. In this case, I will go over, it takes a long time. It takes generations. I mean, people live and die on this ship. The only life they know is on this ship, because their great-great-great-grandparents started the journey, and now they're finishing it. And we get to see kind of how that all plays out. One of the things about this book that I kind of found unique was it reminded me a little bit of Stephen Erickson's Malazan Book of the Fallen, in that the first about 40 pages, you don't really know where you are or what you're looking at in this book. Kim Stanley Robinson just plops you down in an environment where you gotta trying to figure out, are they on a spaceship or not? What's really happening here? Because he's actually referring to parts of the spaceship as like Nova Scotia or Norway or the Sudan, so you're like, are they still on Earth, or are they? Because the way it's described, you're kind of like. But then you kind of understand they're on a big spaceship, and the spaceship is so big that it literally has its own sort of countries inside of it, and each country inside of the spaceship kind of has its own. They're trying to have their own government, if that makes sense. It also reminded me a lot of Gene Wolfe's Night Side of the Long Sun, which is a similar thing where you're plopped down on a spaceship, but for the first 100 pages, you don't really know that you're on a spaceship. But anyway, let's get over that part. So on page 44 and 46, we finally kind of get an inkling of what landscape we're on. And so I'll just kind of read you a couple sentences from these pages, because it really sets up what is happening on this book. Okay, so 2,122 people are living in a multi-generational starship headed for Tau Ceti, which is 12 light years from Earth. The ship is made of 2 rings attached by spokes to a central spine, which we can see right here. The spine is 10 kilometers long. I don't know what the a kilometer is because I'm an American. So a kilometer could be this big or 45 miles big. I don't know. So, but anyway, I'm assuming 10 kilometers long is hella big. Um, so the spine is 10 kilometers long. Um, each torus is made of 12 cylinders. Each cylinder is 4 kilometers long and contains within it a particular specific terran ecosystem. That's why we've got some parts of the ship are called Brazil, some parts of the ship are called Greenland, some parts of the ship are called Antarctica, because each part of the ship has its own ecosystem and weather pattern. Okay, the starship's voyage began in the common era of the year 2545. So that it's 2025. So that's like 400 years from now. The ship's voyage has now lasted 159 years and 19 days. For most of that time, the ship has been moving relative to the local background at approximately 1/10 the speed of light. Thus, it's going to take them quite a while to reach the next star system. But they do. In this book, they do. Pretty early on. That's a little spoilery, but I'm not spoilery. So we see this story play out through the eyes of the ship itself, the AI that's running the ship itself. We get to see some of the story play out as the ship oversees it, because there's cameras in every corner of the ship. Nothing that happens in the ship goes unrecorded, perhaps. We also get to see the story played out through Freya, who is the daughter of Badim and Devi. Now, Freya, in the early part of this book, gets permission to go on a sort of it's called a walkabout. No, it's not called a walkabout. It's called a sojourn, or I can't remember what it was called. But it's sort of like this coming of age ritual that the parents can sometimes let their kids do. And the walkabout is that young Freya gets to go and explore. She gets to leave home and explore the rest of the ship. Oh my God. The rest of the ship and its environments on her own. It's kind of like a coming of age thing for the kids on the ship. And so the reader gets to explore this ship with young Freya as she goes from spot to spot to spot. Now, the ship, of course, once I'm just going to say the ship reaches its destination. And now this is where a few things, like I said, this is not a feel-good, yay, we've saved humanity from extinction on Earth type of a scenario where they're like, yay, we've got a new place we can live and humanity can survive. That's not the direction this book takes once they reach the planet. And that's not really spoilery because he kind of alludes to it on the back. But all I'm going to say is people don't get along. And if you've been stuck with people on this kind of a ship for your whole life and you hate most everybody else that's around you, and then you got to colonize a planet, and then half of you don't even want to be on this new planet and the other half would just rather turn the ship around and go back to Earth, that's some problems. And all of those scenarios kind of play out in one form or another throughout this book, and it just spirals into a situation where we understand that this colonizing space might not go the way we plan it, if that makes sense. That's why I was really riveted to this book, quite frankly, is because it, like Battlestar Galactica, kind of similar. They're looking for Earth and they find it, and hooray, everything is awesome. Not so in this book, just not so. And I'm not going to spoil how it goes bad or why it goes bad, or even if it turns out bad at all, because I will say we follow several different trajectories in this story, and I was just riveted to see. I was like, my God, what are these people just literally going to? It was a voyage to save humanity, and is it literally going to end humanity? That's what I was like. I was like, oh my God, what's happening? I liked it. I liked it a lot. I was surprised. This is another one of those books I went in with kind of like ho-hum expectations, and Kim Stanley Robinson, like on the back, under promised, and then inside the pages, like over delivered. And I always like it when that happens. So I'm gonna give Aurora a resounding 9.5 to 9.75 out of 10 stars. It's just a dope book.